Welcome to the Zono Sports Show, where you know Zonos. Today we got a few things to go over. It was Statement Saturday in college football. We found out who the walkers were, and we exposed the talkers. Now, let's start off with our biggest surprise of the weekend. My biggest surprise of the weekend, Florida State versus number 10 Louisville. Florida State was ranked number 2 at the time. They lost to Louisville here in Papa John Stadium 63-20. That's right, 63-20. Gameday was on the ones and twos. A lot of buzz going around Papa John's. Many fans out there. That was a sold-out game. Corso and the gang were here. Gameday crew, all that stuff. Zono Sports was there in full effect, live and in person, right in the pit, right up front. If you watch my show, I'm sure you saw the Zono Sports sign. Had to let ESPN know we were out there too getting some live footage. Now, that game, I was so shocked about the fact about Louisville blowing out Florida State by 43 points, scoring the most points that's been scored on Florida State in school history, 63. I mean, sheesh. Lamar Jackson had all the juice. FSU had none. DeAndre Francois, I was shocked that he played such a abysmal game. I mean, the guy had only 100 yards total passing. Jimbo Fisher had to keep calling him over to the sideline, talking to him, trying to keep him composed. I think it just really shows that Lamar Jackson is light years ahead of where other players in college football are. I mean, because we can't lose sight of the fact that DeAndre Francois is only a redshirt freshman. I'm sure he will develop and in 1 or 2 years be somebody that we're talking great about. And this will be a game that we'll go back to, and he'll talk about the way that he played bad and what he learned from. So a stepping stone for him. However, Lamar Jackson has 5 TDs, 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. Even Mike Vick came out and said something on social media talking about that Lamar Jackson's 5 times better than he was in college. And I've got to disagree with that. Lamar's a great player. He's a showstopper. However, Michael Vick, he had sauce, okay? Those Virginia Tech days, I was only about 10, 11 years old when I got to watch Michael Vick play those games. However, Michael Vick, I grew up in Atlanta as well, so I'm with the Falcons. Michael Vick is in a whole nother realm of quarterbacks that can run the football. I mean, Michael Vick was amazing. Lamar's got a lot more body of work to compile before we can compare him to Michael Vick and say that he's 5 times better. Michael Vick, I don't know if those sacks when he played for Philadelphia have gotten to his head, but slow down, Mike Vick. You're a pretty good player. Also, the Heisman moments are piling up like dirty underwear for Lamar Jackson. I mean, there's one after the other, week after week. Last week he had the hurdle over the Syracuse player, and then this week he has the 47-yard rushing touchdown against Florida State where he hits the spin move and taps B going into the end zone. Lamar Jackson is a man possessed. Right now, I smell a lot of Reggie Bush reeking from his football loins. I really like what I'm seeing out of Lamar Jackson. He is the Heisman frontrunner. Has more touchdowns in college football this year than more than 114 FBS teams. What does that say? I mean, sheesh. Now, also, Louisville's got a chance to continue to play well, run the table. They've got a game, two tough games left on the schedule, in my opinion. At Clemson, then they've got to go to Houston. We saw what happened to Oklahoma when they played at Houston. So I really think if Louisville is going to find themselves in the college football playoff at the end of the year, they've got to win both of those games and definitely have to win that Clemson game. That Houston game, because Houston, they are not in a Power 5 conference. They're in the AAC. So they've got to find a way to win out, to give themselves a shot to get in the college playoffs. So I look forward to not necessarily seeing that Clemson game, but if they win that game, I got to see that Houston game, because Houston, they're a good team. We saw what they did to Cincinnati on Friday night. Also, we can go back to the Ohio State-Oklahoma game. Ohio State went down there to Norman, won 45-24, and the door was cracked for Oklahoma. However, they just got kicked out the club. I mean, they had a shot to continue to make a playoff push, but 2 early losses in the season, the 1 loss to Houston as well as the 1 loss to Ohio State. I mean, granted, their schedule is pretty tough. Oklahoma just does not have it this year. They're not the Oklahoma of old that we're used to watching with the decent Sam Bradford teams and the Jason Whites of the world. They are not that team anymore. JT Barrett, he was the suit. Wide receiver Noah Brown was the tie. I mean, I watched that game. Noah Brown had a 4-piece with a biscuit. Tyrone Pro throw reruns are what I saw the other night. There was one touchdown Noah Brown catches in the end zone. Now, mind you, he got hurt in spring ball, I want to say last year, or fall camp last year, and could not play the entire season last year. So he's somebody Ohio State's been waiting to get back into the frame. Noah Brown had the Tyrone Pro throw type catch where he catches it in the back of the end zone on the back of an Oklahoma defender. I mean, if you all don't know, Tyrone Protho made that same exact play years ago, over 10 years ago, against Southern Miss down in Tuscaloosa before his career was ended when he broke his ankle against Florida. Sad moment. Great player, Tyrone Protho. But Noah Brown literally put the team on his back. So it was fun to watch. I really like Ohio State. They're a fun team. They've got a lot of athletes. I was definitely wrong about that game. I said Oklahoma would possibly beat Ohio State. However, I did say that Louisville might have Ollie Magic and could beat Florida State. I did say that. I had to go back and review a little footage, but I did say that. Now, Baker Mayfield, he looks like he lost the magic. He had 2 picks, didn't play particularly well. That backup quarterback that was running his mouth before the game saying that Ohio State's defense was pretty basic. I'm so sad, sir, but you have to eat those words. Ohio State proved that they are not basic. They are not vanilla. They are not cheese pizza. They are the real deal Holyfield. So we'll have to see how that Ohio State team develops throughout the season. Can they beat Michigan at the end? If they can beat Michigan at the end, I think they will buy themselves a ticket to the college football playoff, as long as they can, of course, win the Big Ten championship. Now, we move right along. The Sloppy Joe game of the weekend. Alabama versus Ole Miss. Alabama wins that game 48-43. That's a pretty high-scoring game for an SEC game. Bama avoids 3 straight L's to Ole Miss. They've lost the last 2 in a row. They went down there to Oxford, got down early, rallied back from 21 points, a 21-point deficit in the first half. And also, yeah, buddy, saw a bunch of big shots. Bad blood between Alabama and Ole Miss. Jalen Hurts and Reuben Foster both were involved in 2 big shots. Jalen Hurts, the one by the Ole Miss defender where he blindsides. I mean, it was a clean, any given Sunday, Friday Night Lights slobber knocker. Jalen Hurts fumbles, that gets returned for a touchdown. Have not seen a good hit like that in a while, but as a former linebacker, it gets my juices going. Now also, Reuben Foster, he had the big hit on the sideline against Chad Kelly where he kind of dinged him up a little bit. Reuben Foster's a big hitter. I told you guys about Reuben Foster earlier in the year. He's a guy that will definitely play on Sundays just because he can run and he has hitting ability. He understands football. He understands defense. However, I think I see a lot of mental mistakes with him sometimes, but he's a great player, great athlete. So I really think that having him on defense at linebacker has really helped them bounce back from losing people like Reggie Ragland. Also, Chad Kelly, to me, still plays too loose. He's still flinging it around like it's Nerf ball. Chad Kelly, you got to chill, man. They don't have a defense like they had last year. They've got Tony Connor, but they don't have a Nakim Dichi. They don't have people like that. They don't have Cody Pruitts of the past. They've got to find a way to get Chad Kelly to play within his skill set, not try to make too many crazy decisions and put his team in bad spots. I looked at that game. I mean, Ole Miss had several chances to win it. They act like they didn't want it. So, I mean, Alabama came back and did what they had to do, made a lot of plays on defense. They scored 21 points off touchdowns on defense. I saw picks, scoops, and scores. I saw fumble recoveries. I saw interceptions taken back to the crib. I mean, they scored every way you can think of on defense. So it was a pretty good game. But even though they did score a lot of points, I think that Alabama defense has become dried fruit because they've been sweet in years past. However, they got a lot of points scored on them, especially late. You know, the 43 points. I mean, at one point it was 48-30. Ole Miss scored 2 touchdowns in less than 30 seconds because they got the onside kick. So I think they've got a lot of things to clean up. I don't think Alabama's as good as we've seen in the past years, but they are undefeated and they are Alabama. So they'll continue to march along. They still got to go to Tennessee. They still got to go to Arkansas and to LSU. So I have to see what happens with that Alabama team. But they look pretty good. Now, we move right along Other games that were this weekend, Colorado gave it up to Michigan. Cefalau, he got hurt, the quarterback for Colorado. Michigan's Jabril Peppers, of course, a star stopper, took one back to the house, in the big house. Michigan ended up winning that game 45-28. Michigan State beats Notre Dame. They're done. They beat them by a TD. The reason I say they're done, they've already lost to Texas. And then they also just took the loss at home to Michigan State because I think Michigan State will lose a game, definitely that Michigan game. So I think Notre Dame's effectively eliminated themselves from the playoffs, but it's not their fault. Brian Kelly had those players get in trouble at the beginning of the season, so I think that really hurt them. Georgia sneaks out with 2 picks and salt packets from Missouri. They actually scored on a last-second touchdown on 4th down. Jacob Eason zips it in. Scores a touchdown. They win 28-27. So Georgia, you snuck out with 2 picks and salt packets, okay? But they did get the W, so no big deal. Now, NFL news. The Bengals versus Steelers. That was the big highlight game of the weekend. Can everybody keep it civil? Can players refrain from getting too nasty, hurting each other? Le'Veon Bell standing on the sideline, happy he's not playing because he knows how those Bengals get down. Now, the Steelers won that game 24-16. Big Ben had a Big Ben type of game. He had 3 TDs, 2 picks. He always plays pretty good but makes a few mistakes, so the 2 picks were his few mistakes. Andy Dalton threw the ball 54 times and had 1 TD. So I guess I'm kind of confused at, how you throw the ball 54 times and have 1 TD. Andy Dalton, we got to see more from you. You got to lead that team. The reason I say that is because the Bengals' run game was stiffer than Clyde Drexler on Dancing with the Stars. I mean, they could not get any yards on the ground. Jeremy Hill had 11 carries for 22 yards. I mean, sheesh, that's not great football in the NFL if you're trying to have a balanced offensive attack. Now, Grandpa D'Angelo was at it again. He had 94 yards, no touchdowns this week, but he did show up and make a difference on that on that Steelers team in the backfield. Also, their leading receiver was Giovanni Bernard, 9 receptions, 100 yards for 1 TD. What that tells me, there was no work from the wide receivers, and it shows me that they could not throw the ball downfield, so they had to work the screen game a lot with the running back. I didn't watch the game, but that's what I take from that. They had to work it in the flats to the running back just to pick up easy yards on the edge. So he was their leading receiver. I mean, I don't see how that happens when you have a guy like AJ Green, but hey, that is what it is. Now, also, of course, the Browns blew it again versus the Ravens, up 20-2 in the first quarter. Did not score the rest of the game. The Browns, Hugh Jackson, they are struggling again this year. I think the Robert Griffin injury, it was a big deal, but we didn't know how good he was going to be anyway. And the Browns just don't seem to ever be able to get it together. I want to know what somebody did in Cleveland to deserve so much pain for the Browns. Who did what? Who got the curse? The Cubs are about to lose theirs. The Red Sox lost theirs. When are the Browns going to be good again? I mean, I think that drive by Elway back in the 80s that everybody talks about really still hangs with the Browns organization. They haven't recovered from what I've seen over years, over my lifespan. But also, the Patriots beat the Dolphins, but Jimmy G, baby, he got hurt. 2-game microwave, though. He's only got 2 games. The Patriots only have 2 games. Bill Belichick's got 2 games. 2 games until Tom Brady comes back. And then once Tom Brady comes back, of course they're going to do a good job protecting Tom Brady. He's Tom Brady. But he doesn't get outside the pocket and run a whole lot either. So I really think the Patriots will survive from having Jimmy G hurt. Jacoby Brissett, decent quarterback for NC State last year. Look forward to seeing what he can do. Now, the first home game of the season, for the Rams this year, the Rams beat the Seahawks 9-3. A baseball game broke out in LA, and the Angels were not playing on this field. Now, the Rams, they must be watching Zono Sports, or Kobe called them out. Kobe rings them up. Hey, guys, you can't come to my city and be bums. Can't do that. I'm a champion 5 times. So, I don't know. Maybe Kobe called him and said something to him, got him all jazzed up to play a little defense. Or either Russell Wilson was hurt or Sierra didn't cook breakfast because he did not come to deliver that Russell Wilson type performance that we're used to seeing. He had no TDs whatsoever, just a bunch of stats. So, I mean, I really think that he struggled. Obviously, he hurt the ankle last week, and it was clearly bothering him on Sunday for him to not have any touchdowns. The Broncos still balling. They beat the Colts. Von Miller had 3 sacks. Also, the strip sack at the end to win it. He gets those a lot. He really works on raking those hands down from quarterbacks and knocking that ball out. He's an outstanding defensive end. He's the most impact defensive player out there on the edge that I've seen since we hear about people like Lawrence Taylor. I mean, that's the type of player that I think Von Miller is. And he has fun, too. I like the way that he has fun. He's always dancing. He's always doing his hype dance and his cowboy lasso. I like Von Miller. Also, he proves to Denver and the rest of the football world that he's worth every bit of that $70 million. Give me my bands. Give me my mills. So, Von Miller, continue to do what you're doing, brother. You are a baller. Star of the day, in my opinion. I called you to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. That happened. Zoe knows. Now, Zoe knows that you will continue to make an impact. He's great with his hands. Keeps O-linemen off of his knees for cut blocks. He's just a great athlete. Now, Sunday Night Football, the Packers lose to Minnesota in their stadium debut. Sam Bradford comes in, has a decent game, actually. Sam Bradford, I used to make fun of him for years for the Rams, but he actually came out and played pretty well. I do think personally that he will fall off. I just don't think Sam Bradford's ever been that great of a quarterback in the NFL. Heisman winner at Oklahoma, but I just don't think that he's the type of guy who can lead Minnesota to a championship. However, the Vikings defense is the real BOLOGNA. The Vikings they're 5th in scoring defense this year. In Mike Zimmer, I want to say it's his 3rd year this year. They are 5th in scoring defense, so he's really got the defense playing, and they've got to play better and play well just because the Teddy Bridgewater injury. Also, Adrian Peterson gets hurt, his right knee. Hope he's okay with that. I haven't really looked into that yet. I'll check that out for everybody. Aaron Rodgers had an un-Aaron Rodgers-like game. He had 3 fumbles. That Vikings defense, I didn't see Green Bay not blocking well at all. The Vikings were just getting a lot of pressure back there on Mr. Rodgers. And, I mean, it just turns out they played well enough to win the game. So did Green Bay, but they made way too many mistakes late in the game to close that out. So I really look forward to seeing NFL games next week to see what's in store for us, as well as college. And also, Wednesday, what we'll discuss Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Noise from Clemson and Georgia Tech. Clemson's got to travel down to A-Town, and they've got to go and face the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So I look really forward to seeing what Deshaun Watson does against Justin Thomas. That's a nice quarterback battle. Also, a little wild card sauce in baseball. We'll see who the dark horse is in the playoffs for baseball. Who can actually win the pennant? Who can be the team to come out that nobody's talking about besides the Cubs and people like the Royals? Who can come out? Who can come out? Now, thank you so much for watching Zono Sports Show, where you know Zoe knows. Excuse me, I got a little messed up there at the end, but it's just because I'm so excited about all the football that happened this weekend. But everybody take care. Talk to you soon. All right, bye.